Good evening. Welcome to Smart Trucking Live. Glad you guys could all join us tonight. Sandus Turner, present. Welcome, Sandus. Little Trucker Bear. Hello, Dave Katnick. Hello, Little Trucker Bear. Thank you for joining us here. Daniel Meredith, sir. How's it going? It's going all right, man. How are you doing? Reps for Jesus. Depressed Truckers. Yeah. Chromehound. Good afternoon, local time, fellas. Brianna Walsh, hello everyone. SoCal, hey SoCal, how you doing, man? Glad you could join us. Nick Sperry, hello. Zizlam, hello, hello lovely drivers. Chromehound, good to see you, social. Well, how are you guys all doing? Holland Donkey, stuck waiting in line at the wash bay to get my trailer washed out. Ready to piece you home when I am done. Well, thank you all for joining us. Kind of an unusual topic tonight, depression in the trucking industry, but oddly enough, or maybe not oddly enough, it becomes a little more prevalent this time of year. It seems the percentage of people, not just truck drivers, but the percentage of people that suffer from depression, that number is elevated through Christmas time for some unknown reason. And it's particularly true, apparently, of truck drivers. They say that the last figures I looked at were that roughly 3% of the population struggled with depression, but in the trucking population, it's almost 14% of the over-the-road trucker population that suffers from depression. And this is, that's kind of a worrying number. And it's something that, we really need to be able to deal with or learn how to handle, because sometimes it takes a nasty turn, and that is not good. Now, there's something about the seasons that's connected with depression. Apparently, it starts in November, December, and elevates to its peak in January, and never really dies down again. People don't start feeling better about themselves until spring. So you can kind of see that correlation, but there are more things in trucking that affect truck drivers than affect the average person, and it's one of the biggest factors apparently is loneliness. And trucking is a solitary job, and some people really suffer from loneliness. So it's something that we as truck drivers need to be aware of. And how you correct that is more contact with your friends, or more interaction with your family, or take some time off, something like that, because the loneliness has weight on the depression factor. So it's kind of a sad deal. And in turn, truckers aren't treated with the respect that they used to be treated with. You get crap from shippers and receivers and dispatchers and stuff now, and it's not like it used to be. It's not like you were a knight of the road. These days, you're just kind of a blue-collar worker for everyone to take a shot at. So all of that weighs on you. And it's, there's something else, too, that if you're feeling a little low, it works for some people if you just talk it out with a friend or your spouse or something like that. Just sometimes you need to get stuff off your chest. So it's something that truck drivers, oddly enough, have to deal with this year. Or not this year, this time of year, I should say. So I'm hoping none of you find yourself in that position.
Walker Wade coming in with a $5 donation. Thank you very much for that. What's depressing is hauling 1,300 miles for 4,500, then having a breakdown for 4,500. Experienced that a few times, yeah, say the least. Thank you very much for the 5, Wade.
that would be depressing. No one ever likes breaking down. And then it's not just the fact that you're broken down, it's the fact that you're sitting there waiting for a service truck for sometimes hours and hours and hours. So, and then you got to wait for the comm check for hours and hours. So, no, breaking down is no fun. And I hadn't even thought of that leading to depression, but I suppose it could. Man. Just booked some loads over the holidays. Excited for this episode. Evan, well, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Good to get some loads over the holidays. Generally, in my experience, the freight paid better over the holidays than almost any other time of year. So I hope you make some serious money on that. That's a good deal. Reps for Jesus. Heading to the Texas border tomorrow. Well, hopefully you're far enough south to be in the good weather. Nick says he's doing good. I'm glad to hear that, man. Matthew Thomas. Hey, Dave and Kathy. I've been running for 3 days straight. Well, I hope you're getting enough rest. I hope the ELD isn't becoming a problem, but I know what it's like to sometimes when you got to make the miles, you got to make the miles, and it's all money when you're making the miles. VA. Hi from BC. Omega Man, drinking alcohol makes you depressed. Now I have read that. I have read that alcohol actually heightens whatever emotion that you're having when you start drinking. If you're feeling sad, it makes you feel even sadder. If you're feeling happy, apparently it makes you feel even better. So, you've heard the expression about a happy drunk. Well, maybe that's the case there, but no, I know alcohol can be involved in that. That's true. Good afternoon, Eric Catherine. Glad you could join us. Loading lumber for a Menards in Missouri via Montana. That Mad Ranch Trucker. That'd be a nice run. That'd be all right. I'd like to do that one. Omega Man says it washes out the minerals. I'm not enough of a scientist to know if that's true. If you're pulling my leg, I'm not sure. Daniel Meredith. Recommend if you decide to get your CDLs through a company like Swift or the school, make sure you and your family is ready for it. Can be very stressful and will take time away. Startup pay not that great. That's true. That's a good point from Daniel there. If you're new into the industry, it's tough getting in, and it can be a lot to bear with. Sometimes they put you in a truck with another guy, and you're having to put up with him. He's your trainer or something like that. They send you out because you're brand new. They send you out for a few weeks at a time. The pay's crap if they pay you anything at all. Yeah, good point. Don't know if I saw it in the other chat, but being gone for weeks at a time can make the spouse depressed, and in my case, divorce. Yeah, Kelly, that is very true, and it happens an awful lot. I know guys truck drivers that were married like 3 and 4 and 5 times. It's just... Yes, yeah, and it happened to Kelly too. But yeah, that's not unusual in our industry, Kelly, as you know. So, and that's, that in itself is tough, losing a spouse like that in that manner. And, you don't know whether to blame yourself or blame the job, or it's a tough situation. But yeah, that can lead to depression.
Reps for Jesus coming in with his first donation of $10. Thank you very much for that, Jesus. If you live over the road, you have to do fun stuff when you can to break it up a little bit, a good lighthearted note, and that's really good advice. And you might not always be in the mood for it, but even if you kind of have to force yourself to try and have a little fun, you might have a little by accident. So it's good advice. So thank you for the 10, Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus, that is good advice, and he's raised a good point too. Sometimes you just got to get away from the truck. You've got to get away from the job, and even that will relieve your stress level. SoCal, been in a hotel for 3 days straight. Man, I didn't think Forward Air ever sat you. So I hope it's not because you're broken down. That I've been there. That can be depressing. Don't let it get to you, man. Hello all from Alberta, Canada. Getting ready to load some moo dogs. Hello, Brandon. Glad you could join us. Where did that just go there? SoCal again. I'm always flying my RC helicopters when I'm not on the road, weather permitting. Those pictures you sent us, man, that looks like an expensive piece of equipment. Pretty cool. Here we go. I've just started OTR, and I can say it's a whole new ball game from being local and at home every night. I found phoning my spouse every morning and every night, and a photo of her on the dash helps. Huh? Yeah, that's a good idea. Carry a picture or two, a couple of pictures. That is a good idea. I hadn't thought of that, but yep, that would certainly help. Little Trucker Bear, Western Express is very depressing with 30 cents per mile. Yeah, I think there's a few carriers I'd be depressed if I were with them, and Western Express is one of them. Prime's another. That'd be a reason for depression right there. Is it true trucking schools are charging upwards of $30,000? I've heard that from a few people, but couldn't believe it. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of the private schools are charging that, but not everybody. That's the high end of the scale. I don't imagine these carriers, excuse me, that are putting you through their schools. I don't imagine they're up there that high. But you know what? You want to run the numbers. If you go to a carrier and you've got to reimburse them for the schooling, you want to run the numbers to find out just at the end of the day what you end up paying for that schooling. Because there are carriers like CR England, for instance, that could just charge you through the nose. So know before you sign on the dotted line. At the end of the day, what is that training going to cost you? You've got to be careful. These guys are crooked out there.
Chromehound coming in with a $5 donation. I appreciate that. The most depressing thing that I've been through in the last 10 years is being a trucker, but I don't think trucking will match any of the other trades in my lifetime. Thank you very much for the 5, Chrome.
Yeah, trucking can be that way. And sometimes it's just a matter of finding a different type of trucking from the one you're doing that's depressing you. Sometimes that's all you need. If you're doing over the road and you just jump to local or regional or something like that, sometimes that changing the whole scenario, the whole picture, can make all the difference in the world. A job that gets you home every night or every other night, sometimes that's all it takes. For loneliness, I can in most cases call other buddies that are truckers also. It might even help to be on a call and both say next to nothing for an hour or two. Just the thought of having company. That's from Stabs. And yeah, he's exactly right. It's sometimes it's that human contact is all you need to really pull you back to where you need to be, frankly. It's an unusual industry that way because you're not interacting with people all the time, and some people really need that interaction. All people need some sort and some level of interaction, but trucking is particularly hard on that. Is Schneider a reason for depression at 43 cents a mile? The reps for Jesus. Actually, Schneider hasn't got a bad reputation. I particularly like their tanker fleet. So if you're a little depressed at 43 cents a mile hauling their boxes around, check out their tanker fleet. And my understanding is it's good work. It pays better. It takes, there's a little bit of a learning curve for straight bore tankers. But it's a lot of food grade stuff, and I hauled hazmat in a straight bore for a while and really liked it, and it did pay better. So, reps for Jesus. If you're with the box division at Schneider, check out their tanker division. Might be a whole new break for you.
Daniel coming in with the $10 donation. Good to see you in the chat tonight, Daniel. If you get a CDL license from Swift/Mega Carrier or the school, don't do a lease program. The pay may suck at first, but the experience will get you a better job and better pay. I should know. I was with Swift for a year. Thank you very much for the 10, Daniel. And
then excellent advice from Daniel. Do not do a lease program under any circumstances. And every carrier these days wants to push that leasing program. It's because they make money on that deal. The guy that's signing you up that talks you into the deal gets a bonus just for you going to lease the truck. It's a crooked business. Don't do it. Hold out and they'll give you a company job. And if they don't offer a company job, walk away. You do not want to lease a truck from these guys. Anybody, especially when the freight's in the toilet right now like it is. So don't get involved in that. It'll break you. Patrick Norman, straightbore tanker is a good time. Patrick, I enjoyed it. I did it for a few years and quite liked it. Dave, I think the worst mega carrier is CR England. That's from Little Bear. That's a tough call, man. They're definitely in my top 3. Prime, CR England, I don't know, Western Express, CRST. I'd have a hard time choosing. SoCal, I spend hours at a time on the phone with a good friend of mine I've known since 1981. He played drums for Hall & Oates for 3 years and has also played with many other big names. Wow, he's kind of a celebrity. You know famous people, SoCal. Well, that's pretty cool. But yeah, if you've got a few buddies that you chat to all the time, I know I always did. I've still got those friends today, like the Lettuce King and Richard Pierce and that. And those guys, I call them up, and it's always good to talk to them. Always. Great advice. I'm hauling orange boxes. Got endorsement. I'm going for a tanker now. Rep for Jesus. I recommend it. And apparently their tanker operation is pretty good. And guys make money at that. SoCal says the stories he tells me blows my mind. I bet. I can't even imagine. They paid one guy 6 cents per mile. This is little Trucker Bear. Did he tell you I like smallish carriers like Bottomley, North Carolina reefer carrier, and GP Transco. Yeah, I like the smaller carriers too, because you're not just a number there. You know, they get to know you. They treat you like people. I couldn't work. I tried one time working for a huge carrier, and I think I lasted 6 weeks, but no, I hated it. I make 67 cents per mile doing Dollar Tree. You do work for it, but I like the workout, and I'm home every week. See myself doing touch freight for a while. I'm not wanting to drive 11 hours strictly every day. I've seen some of those trailers that go to Dollar Tree, and it's just hand stacked floor to ceiling. There's a lot of work involved in that, but as long as they're paying you well for it, that's what matters. Patrick Norman, what depressed me, bought my first truck with every penny I had. I blew the motor. 4th day out. Oh, man. No money, no food, family starving. Cut my losses and went back to company driver. 2 weeks, I'm done. Got a DPW job. Patrick, it's so easy to get in financial trouble when you own or lease a truck anymore. It's ridiculous. Like, they're talking 30-40 grand now just to rebuild the engine. So if something goes wrong with a motor, hardly anybody's got that kind of money in the bank, you know, and then they got to borrow it. It's a nightmare to own a truck anymore. It's not like it used to be. What are your opinions of ATS? Nick Sperry. Nick, they've been around a long time. They've got a good reputation. I have a good opinion of them. Never heard anything bad about them, and they're a lot bigger than you think too. So no, they're a good carrier in my books. Cattle hauling is a decent deal. Puts food on the table and chrome on the truck, and chrome and lights on the unit. That's from Brandon. I actually, when I was young, I ran with a buddy of my dad's for a trip that was a haul of bull rack, and it was something else. But I found the worst part for me was the girls were in the trailer rocking and rolling all night, and I never did get any sleep. So, but I'm cleaning out the trailer. But yeah, those guys make pretty serious money, I think. And you know, they work for it too, though. They're not just doing it for free. Those guys work hard for their money.
D-Ski coming in with the $5 donation. Thank you very much for that. You guys are crushing it with the donations tonight. Jobs are contractual. Can't plant your feet anywhere anymore. Thank you very much for the 5.
Yeah, D, I have noticed that, and I don't like seeing that. But that seems to be the trend right now. My advice is just don't. Anybody that offers you something like that, just walk away from it, because you can do better. You can do better. I know there's a lot of contractual work, but I'm always leery of that stuff, and a lot of that's 1099 work too, and I avoid that like the plague, because you never know where you stand with that stuff. So yeah, not my favorite thing, contractual deals like that, 6 month or 1 year contractuals. Do you think next year might be a good year to be an owner-operator? I'm coming up on my 3rd year of experience. Thought about making the jump. Things were looking better. Mendoza's Coyote. I wouldn't jump into it for the first 6 months of 2024, and then in June I'd have a look at it again. They're forecasting that the freight market will turn around June, but there's no guarantee of that. So I'd hold off, because you don't want to make that kind of an investment and find out there's no freight. So I'd wait a little while longer. And frankly, with the price of fuel these days, I'm not even sure I'd want to do it at all anymore. It's a tough deal now. What's a better gig, tanker hauler or livestock hauler? Eric, I've never done bull rack work, so I can't tell you which is better. I can tell you that I like the tanker work, and you didn't have to wash out your own trailers like you do with cattle pots. So just for that reason alone, you might want to think about the tanker work. But if you're a country boy and you're used to cattle, maybe that's all right, doesn't bother you.
SoCal coming in with the $5 as well. Thank you very much for that. Merry Christmas to all, and a Merry Christmas to you too, SoCal.
Merry Christmas, SoCal. Are you running through the holidays after you get out of the hotel here, or you're just gonna get out of the hotel at some point here and then head home for the holidays and park it for a few days? Little trucker bear, I keep saying it backwards. I think we should all refuse to drive for the ATA. In general, the ATA is a disaster. Now, that's not to say that there aren't a few good carriers that belong to the ATA. It's not their fault, that the ATA is what it is. Like Crete Schaefer, for instance, is an ATA carrier, and it's a very good place to work. There's a few of them that are ATA members that don't stick to the ATA model. They do what they think is right, rather than what the ATA practices. Maverick is another one that's an ATA carrier, but a good carrier. So there are out there, but it's generally the dry freight carriers, the huge like Swift and stuff like that you gotta be careful of. Brianna, is car hauling good to get into? Brianna, yes it is, and that used to be quite lucrative. But every mode of freight has a trick to it, or a few tricks where they try to knock the rate down. And apparently with car hauling, the new trick to knock down the rate is that they'll inspect the cars when you deliver and say, oh, it's got a dent. That wasn't there when you loaded it, or something like that. They'll try to say there's damage to the cars. So my only advice is, if you're going to haul cars, just inspect the heck out of them and note every little mark on every car, so they can't claim it back on you to lower the freight rate, because apparently that's the big trick with that anymore. But yeah, if you get like you work for Reliable or something like that, you've got it made. Those guys never leave that place, so they're good careers in hauling cars if you can get it. Brandon, cattle is okay. Big dangers, man. Big dangers, though, if you don't watch yourself, could be crippled for life or dead. Yeah, you don't want to be pushing one of those girls up the ramp and have her kick you in the head. I had a friend that happened to, and man, it knocked him for a loop. So you've got to be careful there. Do you actively try to keep yourself in good spirits when you're on the road? Yes. Make a conscious effort. Good survey. Make a conscious effort of being in a good mood. Don't let the fools bother you, like if you get an ugly shipper or something like that. It's amazing how much a bad experience at a shipper or with a dispatcher on the phone, that can just sour your day. And I think part of the trick is just not letting it get to you. And sometimes, if you need a break to cool off or something, find a nice place to anchor, put your feet up, kick back, and forget about the whole thing. And when your mood comes back, then you can get back to driving again. But don't let these fools wreck your day, and they'll try some of them. Kelly Patterson, I walk by a livestock hauler in the fuel aisle, inhale and say, oh, dinner. Oh, man. Man, some of those cattle haulers, those trailers can just knock you on your butt just from the odor. I think the CR England trainee who they paid 6 cents per mile. Yeah, oh, yeah. Should have sued them. I do wonder, though. I'm almost scared to find out when that happened. That was a few years ago, and we did do a video on it, and it was criminal. It was criminal, but CR England has more money than God. You'd go broke trying to sue them. They just break you. You'd never win it. You'd run out of money first. So better just to avoid the carriers like that in the first place. And it's too bad because CR England was a really good carrier 30 years ago. It's this new guy that runs it now, the son or whatever he is, just run it into the ground. My trucking and personal friend called me last week. He bought an older Kenworth 2007 W9 straight body dump truck. He put some money into it, but it's all worth it on snow removal in Montreal by the hour. That would be a good gig. Of course it's seasonal, but Montreal gets a lot of snow and keep you busy for months. That would be all right. SoCal been an owner-operator since 2004, and he'd never go back to being a company driver. Depends on who you talk to. And that's true too, but like SoCal's with a great company. I'm sure he'd tell you that's been a big part of the battle is Forward Air is a great carrier to work for. And if you could latch into a carrier like that, you'd be set for life, like SoCal is. And he also points out not all drivers are meant to be owner-operators. It takes a certain mindset. And that is true too, because taking care of the truck after work is another whole job onto itself. And you can't just be the kind of guy that throws the keys in the truck when your hours of service are up and that's it, and don't look at the truck until you get your hours back. You've got to maintain it, take care of it. There's a lot of maintenance involved in owning your own truck, and you've got to do it, or you'll break down and fail. Good afternoon. Where was your favorite place to eat out here in LA? Thank you and have a nice day. Deck of cards. Honestly, I never explored LA very much because I was always in the truck, and there's a ton of places that you just can't go with the truck. So for the most part, when I was in LA, I just stuck to the truck stops at the corner of 10 and 15 there, and never really went looking for food. I had a favorite place in Mesquite outside of Nevada called the Pepper Mill, but that's gone now. They sold it out, but that was always a good place to eat. That's what I would do, is wait till I got to the Pepper Mill. And there was a really good little breakfast place in Salinas too, and I can't think of the name of that. It's interesting. I'd like to know too, if it's when we're back to depression again here. My thoughts are that it might be older drivers that are more subject to depression than the younger ones, and the older ones, I'm thinking, maybe they've found themselves working for 30, 40 years in the industry and just their body's shot, they need to retire, and they just haven't been able to put the money in the bank. And in the meantime, their marriage has fallen apart or something like that. That has got to be depressing. And I'm sure, at Christmas time, the older guys start thinking about that, especially if they don't have a home to go to at Christmas time. So I bet you, I haven't seen statistics on it, but I would imagine a lot of the older truck drivers that have spent their lifetime career at trucking, I bet you a lot of them are subject to depression this time of year.
Kelly Patterson coming with a $10 donation as well. Thank you very much for that, Kelly. And when I get into heavy traffic, I relax because there's nothing I can do about it. It doesn't bother me. Just ease off the throttle and let it go. Same with the winter shutdown. Just more or less saying that, doesn't let the traffic bother him. Thank you very much for the 10, Kelly.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. And you raised a good point. I was going to say, I don't know whether I'd go strong enough to say I'd get depressed, but I purely hated getting stuck in traffic. It drove me insane. And that was something I had to deal with when the ELDs came in, because on the paper logs, you could miss Chicago or something like that through rush hour. But the ELD, sometimes you had to travel through it or something like that. I purely hated that. Sitting it out when they closed the roads in the wintertime, that was just part of trucking. That never bothered me at all. And a lot of times you were safer locking down than you were trying to carry on. That didn't bother me. But the traffic drove me nuts. I hated that. Good point. I don't think I was ever depressed over it, but I sure could have done without it. SoCal, been to the Iowa 80 many times. It's huge and a great place to stop. Yeah, I've been there a ton. One of the best truck stops in the whole United States, absolutely. SoCal says he's 60 now. Hope I live longer than 2 more years. SoCal, did you know the average age of a truck driver that expires, the average age expiry date or passing on date is 61 years old, which is, that's what the statistics say. I tend to think that it can't be that bad, but
I've just been discussing that in the chat for the last 10 minutes.
I don't believe that statistic, but that's what they've published anyway. So I'm way over that. So I beat that curve. You know what else, oddly enough, was a factor for depression with truck drivers was COVID and the aftermath of COVID. Some drivers were depressed through COVID because they got sick or they were worried about their families, or they chose to run because they had to run, but they thought maybe they shouldn't be running. And everybody loved truckers through COVID if they were getting their freight. But then after COVID ended and all of a sudden truck drivers weren't viewed as an essential service anymore, and the lack of respect came back into trucking, where they started treating the drivers poorly again. And a lot of guys became a little bit depressed over that they lost their important status one more time. Society didn't care about them so much anymore once they were getting their freight again, which is a sad statement all in itself. Mendoza. So I'm 29, have another 33 years of life according to you. No, it's according to the statistics. Don't hold me to that. I hope you last a lot longer than that. But I don't know where they get those numbers, but that's what the national average is apparently.
I just want to bring up this point quickly because I don't know if Dave had this on his notes or not, but SoCal reminded me when he was talking about eating fast food there. A big contribution to mental health is your physical appearance, obviously, and a big hand in that is how you eat. And I'm sure if you don't have a great diet, that probably plays a pretty big hand in that. If you don't get the chance to go to the gym a lot, you don't get to go outside and get exercise a lot, that can play a pretty big hand in depression. So
yeah, Nick's right. A lot of mental health is directly connected to physical health, and everybody knows that when they're not feeling good, yeah, that's tough. Nobody likes that. So yeah, absolutely, it has an effect on it. Petro in Raphine, Virginia, gives Iowa 80 a run for its money. I don't believe I've ever been there in that one. Sorry, Nick, did I jump your cue there? Yeah. Oh, sorry, I got distracted by the point. He's absolutely right. Reps for Jesus, thanks for the $2. Appreciate the donation. I took Nick's job there, but I was interested in your comment, so I jumped the queue. My apologies to everyone. Kelly Patterson, I'm 55. I wish I never brought this up now. Now everyone's counting their time down. Kelly Patterson, 55. You'll be all right, Kelly. I've seen so many times on the road an ambulance by a truck, probably heart attacks. That apparently, with truck drivers, that is a real factor. And a lot of it is due to the sedentary lifestyle that truckers lead. They're in the seat, 70 hours a week, which is twice as long as the average factory worker works every week, and they're not moving around. They're not getting much exercise, and yeah, heart attacks in truck drivers is a big thing. It's a pretty common thing. I've lost a few friends that way.
I just want to hit a couple points here. Kelly Patterson, sustained stress can lead to depression. Yeah, absolutely, because it's just build up over a matter of time, right? And that has a pretty big toll on the mental. I just wanted to ask quickly for chat, just curious, is there anyone in chat who actively goes to the gym? Just curious. I would be curious to know how many people try and get that level of exercise in on their daily routine. I'm sure it's very hard living over the road, but just kind of curious to see about that.
Stabs. Truckers, the first year of COVID was the best time to truck. No traffic. Yeah. Drive times extension to 13 hours without extra breaks. 3 hours overtime paid. Yeah, for a lot of guys it was good trucking through COVID. But a second ago we were talking about stress, and I was thinking while Nick was talking there that imagine the stress, or try to remember the stress that you had as a brand new driver, first time out on the interstates with a brand new carrier, and imagine how stressed some of those new guys can be. And and a lot of that just stays with you for your entire career. I'm stressed in heavy traffic because I'm always trying to keep track of all the cars around you, whipping around like bumblebees. It can be a very stressful job, and maybe that's part of what leads to other issues.
Sergio, no gym. Reps for Jesus. I go to the gym on a home time. Let's see what else here. Smells like OTR. 45-pound dumbbells. All right. Well, this guy's just Hercules, I guess. SoCal, no time for the gym. So it seems to be a mixed bag. So it's interesting. I see a couple local drivers who do have time to go to the gym. So that's got to be a nice perk to driving local, is that you get time to do that kind of personal work.
Yeah, if you're doing over-the-road work, there's not a whole lot of time for gyms. The time you're finished your shift, you just want to eat and have a sleep. You don't even have the energy to go to the gym. And it's tough to find a gym in a town where you don't even know where they are to see if you can even get the truck in there. So, yeah, it's tougher for over-the-road drivers to get into a gym for sure.
William Watt, I lay over at a hotel every other day and go to the gym every morning and have a gym at home as well. Last year of doing that has made a huge difference. Stay away from junk food, obviously. William, I'm sure you're in great mental state just because you've been going every day. That's got to do wonders for your mind. So I'm really glad to hear that. That's a very inspiring quote right there. Reps for Jesus with a $10 donation as well. If exercise counts as walking to the rest area vending machines at the rest area, then I'm an athlete. Yeah. Thank you very much for the 10, Jesus.
Believe it or not, that was about the only exercise I usually got, was once I got older and got away from hand bombing freight. When I landed at night, I always landed in big Petros if I could, and I would do a couple laps around the parking lot, look at the trucks, just going for a walk. And some of those big truck stops have gyms and stuff. I never did that, but I would always try to squeeze in a big walk every night. So that was something. Not enough, but it was something.
And now, to be fair, Jesus did say he does go to the gym and he does do the kettlebells and all that. So I think you can allow yourself a few treats here and there. But for the guys who never go and who are always eating fast food, I'm sure that does play a part in it.
Bold City Trucker says he does curls with honey buns as I raise them to my mouth. Not exactly what Nick had in mind, but I understand what you're saying. I saw a trucker at a truck stop that brought the gym to him, a whole bench press set right up in front of his truck. I went to the truck show in Kentucky a few years ago now, and there was a guy there peddling like a whole exercise system that you could rig up in your bunk, and it was mostly spring loaded stuff, but he had a whole system. And at the time I thought, man, I should get one of those, and then we got distracted and went looking at other stuff. But I thought it was a pretty cool setup.
What would you have done with
I would have tried to have utilized it if I could have had the self-discipline, but I was usually too busy working. Little trucker bear. I've seen some bonehead trucker drivers who look like they weighed 500 pounds. I've seen some massive truck drivers. I've seen some guys that were so badly out of shape they could hardly get in and out of the truck. And you just can't think that a person would have a good mental state when they could barely get around like that, like when they were so damn big. That's just trouble waiting to happen. That's just a disaster waiting to happen for guys that let themselves go like that.
Colcaide, I do cycling on the weekend, good for mental health. Matthew Thomas, does indoor Olympics count? I just wanted to read that one because that one made me think of what a couple of my friends do. A couple of my friends have to travel a lot for their work, and usually what they do is they'll look up like 10-minute ab videos on YouTube, and they'll bring their gym mat with them wherever they go, and they'll just throw it down wherever and follow along with these 10-minute ad videos. So that might be something to look into if you're doing over-the-road work.
Bold City Trucker says resistance bands are a good way to go, and I agree. I have some of those myself, and I used to use them all the time. I'm trying to get back into using them again more, but yeah, those are great because they don't take up any space. They're not heavy to haul around. They're easy to get out and work on. Yeah, I quite like resistance bands. They say railroad is cheaper, but unfortunately you still need yard jockeys, container driver, and local drivers. Being a local driver is good paying jobs, or even propane, gas, and diesel drivers. It's from Daniel. And yeah, all those jobs generally pay pretty well. I don't know about the rail guys anymore. Up here where I live, those guys make pretty good money, but it's not just driving the trucks. They've got to put in the rails. They're doing all sorts of other types of work too. But yeah, I think those guys do pretty well. And let's not start about trying to load 33 pallets of vegetables and fruit with a manual pallet jack. Stabs, when I first got into reefer work, we didn't even have pallet jacks. We hand bombed everything on and everything off. It was all hand bombing freight because we couldn't afford the weight of the skids, frankly, and nobody wanted it on skids. So that was a real workout. Sometimes you were there for hours bombing your load on, but you sure got a workout. It helped keep you in shape. I couldn't do it these days, but when I was young, it was a good workout.
I see the comment from Omar here, and that's a really good point, but we'll come back to that in a second. I just want to get Dave's thoughts on the poll real quick here. So do you get regular exercise on the road?
53% said no, they don't, and 46% said yes, they do. So, it's pretty close. It's higher than I expected. I'm glad it's as high as 46%. It's something that everyone should try to concentrate on because it just improves your whole overall mental and physical state. So it's something good to get into the habit of doing.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how many of those are over the road drivers versus
local.
That'd be 46%. Yeah, it's still really good. But even if you aren't an avid gym goer, if you will, 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, sometimes that's all it takes to just make a small improvement, and every little bit helps. So coming back around to Omar's comment, he's a local driver, but he says bringing a pet is a huge help as well. It falls hand in hand with having a friend to talk to. But having a pet. Now I'm already sure that there will be some companies out there that won't allow pets, but if your situation allows it, then I would say definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah, good point, Omar. And you see, like with over the road guys, you see a lot of those guys carrying usually small dogs, but I've seen cats. I even knew one girl that had a rabbit that she ran in, a pet rabbit. But yeah, and pets are great company. So yeah, that's one good way to keep your mind on happier thoughts and good things, taking care and playing with your pet.
Reps for Jesus with another $5 donation. Thank you very much for all the donations tonight, Jesus. The truck drivers who work for the cartel make a great living, almost as good as the Old Dominion drivers.
I think I'd go with the Old Dominion drivers because I'm sure the cartel guys make pretty good money, but some of them may have a pretty short lifespan or end up doing their last 20 in the can. So, wouldn't be for me, but some guys try it. Huh. There's an interesting question from Mendoza's Coyote to SoCal. You don't think you'd save money going a little slower, like saving fuel, I think is his question. But every truck has kind of its optimum running range where it gets the best fuel mileage, and it's not always 55 miles an hour. It depends on the spec of the truck and the motor. It depends on a few different factors. Kind of terrain you're pulling. God, what about a pet eagle? Little trucker bear. I don't know if I'd want an eagle in my truck with me. Be unique at the truck stop. You'd sure have a conversation piece. I don't think I'd want to try that though. I took my dog on a trip one time, enough for him and me too. I think I'm stopping every time I use the Jake. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that hauling a pet with you has its trials and tribulations. But yeah, it would be good. If they weren't a high maintenance pet, it would probably be better.
Now, I'm going to throw a poll up in the chat here. I'm sure a big part of enjoying your day-to-day comes from whether or not you're proud of what you do for a living. So if you don't like your job necessarily, you might not have the best day every day. But if you're really proud of what it is that you're doing, for the most part, I'm sure you're pretty happy with it. So I'd be curious to know, if you're in the chat, go vote. Let us know if you enjoy your current job.
Good point. And I have to say that I enjoyed my job for two reasons. One, I really liked the work. But number two, I worked for really good people. And that made a huge difference as well. When you knew that you were appreciated, they treated you well, didn't cheat you on your pay. That was, those were two huge things for me. And that's why I never had an issue that way. SoCal says, I used to haul my blue-fronted Amazon parrot around. He loved it. I'm not sure if you're pulling my leg there or not. A blue-fronted Amazon parrot. Really? Apparently, parrots and cockatoos are incredibly intelligent. So if that's actually the case, it might be all right. Didn't his claws play hell on the upholstery, though? I had a dog with me, and she got sick. Had to put her down. Oh, that's sad when that happens. Never get another one for the truck. Yeah, no, I don't think I could either.
Kelly Patterson, sorry, I almost missed your donation there. Thank you very much for the 5. Had a yellow lab for 11 years. He also chased away intruders 4 times. Ate porterhouse steak the next day. Sounds like a good pet. Thank you very much for the 5, Kelly.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. And these days, having a guard dog with you might not be a bad idea. Oh, that's disgusting. There was an old guy who let his trio of dogs out to do their business in the parking lot, didn't clean up after them. Yeah, I don't even know. It's disgusting. I just said, Dave, did you know your 379 Peterbilt looks stern? No, I never thought of it like that.
I was just going to say on the pets notes there that there's no such thing as bad pets, just bad owners. Fun fact to keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a good point. Pets need attention too. Bold City Trucker, love my job. Running dedicated pulling hazmat tankers from Jacksonville, Florida to Rochester. Good money, good home time, good company. That's a nice run too. Boy, that's a good haul. Good. I'm glad it sounds like you've got a real decent run there. I bet you do enjoy it. I think I would. Hello from Joliet, Illinois, Christopher. Hello, Christopher.
All right, I know I didn't give it a lot of time there, but I just wanted to see the general consensus as quick as I could. So it does seem like almost everyone here enjoys their job. So I am very glad to see that, for the one or two who didn't, I hope you figure out a better situation for yourself. But for everyone who does, that's got to help your mental a lot on your day-to-day, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are stuck doing something that they absolutely hate, and that affects their mental in a huge way. So I'm glad to see that.
There's an audiobook by Peter Attia called Longevity. He says exercise trumps all, even diet. So, interesting. Yeah, it's an audiobook by Peter Attia. Check that out if you get a chance. Oh, here's Stabs. Can't be happier. Being new, 2-year newbie, drive a crane truck delivering to hardware stores, family-run company. 2 of the sons drive too, and the old guy has driven since 1975. 5 million kilometers and no accidents. Huh. Good deal, Stabs. I did that for a little while for a family lumber yard here in town, and really enjoyed doing that job too, and it paid well. I was sorry to have to give that up, but my back couldn't take the work, the hand bombing. But yeah, it was a really good job. Did the Lettuce King have any non-traditional truck pets? Well, he'd certainly be the guy that would, but no, he never had a pet in the truck ever. God knows what he would have got if he'd had a pet. It would be something really strange, but no, he never did have a pet in the truck. He probably didn't want the mess in the truck, knowing him. He's here for a live stream Saturday, by the way. We're doing a live stream on Saturday with the Lettuce King, so be sure you join us for that.
Yeah, we'll probably be going live tomorrow, chat, so we'll have more information for you on Saturday's stream, and yes, it will have the Lettuce King in it. Well, we plan to be doing a couple neat events for that, giveaways, and a couple other things I can't really hint at yet, but that'll be on tomorrow's live stream. For those who don't know already, we will be live tomorrow as well. Kokadi made a good point too. Your body, use it or lose it, and that couldn't be more true. So
yeah. Evan, being an owner-operator is a breath of fresh air. As long as you are profitable, you have so much more liberty. Yes, and I'm glad to hear that that's still true for some owner-operators. That's not something that has stayed prevalent throughout the industry, because a lot of owner-operators now have just become slaves to the carrier. But back in the day, the good owner-operator jobs did have exactly what Evan's talking about there, and it was great. Little Trucker Bear said he'd have a possum. No, SoCal, I heard the Lettuce King kept rattlesnakes. No, that's a rumor. That's a rumor. Good God. Can you imagine?
all right, chat. Well, it's getting to be that time of night again. We'll do a couple more minutes of questions, answers, and any other points that Dave has yet to bring up, and then we'll wrap it up for the evening.
I'd just like to say that before anything else, I'm scared to death of rattlesnakes, so I certainly wouldn't want to have one in my truck anyway. Stab says it may be a raccoon or something, but no, I never ran with a pet either. But I just want to say in closing that mental health and depression is something you need to monitor on yourself. And if everybody gets down every once in a while, somebody crabs you out or something like that, that's just going to happen. But if it ever feels like it's just weighing on your shoulders too much, you need to take a break. Sometimes you need to take a vacation. Sometimes you need to just get away from the truck for the weekend or something like that, or 4 or 5 days. And if your job just keeps building up and building up to the point that you hate going into work, there's a problem. And it's time to find another job, whether it's in trucking or whether it's something outside of trucking, because you cannot let your job rule your life. It's important to make money to survive, but you can't let it rule your life and dictate how you live. So something to bear in mind. Don't ever let your job weigh so heavily on you that it gets you down constantly.
And we were discussing this the other day, that that's why we like doing these live streams, because we know that these streams are a good place for everyone here now to come and just talk. It might not be about exactly what's on their mind, but just that conversation with other truck drivers who can relate to what it is that they're going through on the day to day. It can just be enough to keep you in a good mental state. So,
and there are professionals out there that you can talk to if you choose to go that route. And I'm sure some of them are very good. So it might be something else that you might want to consider should you ever find yourself in a situation like that. There are options. There are things you can do to help. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up. Thank you all very much for joining us. We appreciate it when you do. As Nick said, we've got another live stream tomorrow. So please join us for that.
So I want to give a very big thank you to everyone who came out, shared their stories today. I want to take another moment here to thank everyone who donated as well. Walker Wade, Reps for Jesus, Chromehound, Daniel Meredith Jr., D-Ski, SoCal, Kelly Patterson, and I believe that was everyone. Thank you very much for the donations. And even if you just came out to the chat this evening to talk, thank you very much for coming out and contributing to the conversation. And for being live tomorrow, we will be live at the same time as today, so we'll be going live at 4 Eastern Standard.
Well, thank you, everyone, once again for joining us this evening. Take care, drive safely, keep the rubber side down, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.